we have Miss Res. Good evening, ma'am. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you too for inviting me, and I'm very excited to share what I have for the benefit of your clients.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. You can say hi to our nurses joining us through Zoom and nurses joining us live.
Hello to all nurses. So I hope that you're gonna find value in what I'm about to share. It's not really top secret, but it's a very good reminder on how you can best prepare if you still haven't taken your English test.
Thank you so much for that one, Miss Res. We have a lot of nurses actually questions about the English exam because after passing the NCLEX, they think that it's English exam, it's difficult. How can I pass the exam? Is there a right person that will guide me to my preparation? And it's good nurses that we are in partnership with Miss Res because tested and proven. We have several nurses already passed in their first take of the English exam. And take note, all of these nurses are afraid to take the English exam more than the NCLEX. So Miss Ress has a lot to say about this one. I already made you a host, mom. If you wanted to share your screen, then you can have
Ooh, thank you so much. And you know what? I can really resonate with your clients because for those who don't know me yet, and I bet all of you don't know me yet, I'm also a practicing nurse. So I can really understand the pressure, the burden of taking all of these exams. And I would have to agree with the first speaker. Like NCLEX is actually a lot harder, cognitively speaking, but a lot are more afraid of the English test because perhaps our, cultural background um trained us to be intimidated by the borrowed language, but actually we're not supposed to be intimidated. Anyway, well, that's another side note. So I'm going to share in a bit my slides. Actually, Sir Chris, you have seen some slides from the previous orientation that we had, but because the content is still quite relevant to all of the nurses who are about to take the test.
yeah.
Now, I don't know the demographic of the people who are watching right now or later on in the recorded version. But how I arrange it is that it's not only about test techniques. I know that you're going to go there, but it's really more of how you're going to prepare. Okay, so I really hope that for those who are watching here, maybe you haven't um, taken your IELTS or your other English tests, and you're still thinking about which test to take, maybe before I officially start my slides, these are the common questions. Number one, which city are you taking it from? Because if you're considering accessibility, then obviously you're going to choose the English test venue that is quite proximate to your place or more accessible to your place. For example, in the Davao City, we have available OET test venue. We also have PTE test venue and the IELTS test venue. So for those who are in Davao City or other major cities like Cebu and Manila, you have actually a lot of options. But for those who don't have much option, if you're considering the convenient convenience rather and the cost in traveling, so just choose the English test that would um, be more accessible to you. How would you know? Well, if you don't want to Google it, you can always message me. Later on, I'll show you how you can best communicate with me. Now, what if like you're based in the city where you have all of these options? So, which test am I going to choose? So, number one, it also depends. Number one, if you already are a fond reader, like you have you're well read, you know a lot about social topics, I think IELTS wouldn't be quite difficult for you because you're already are used to reading and processing material that are um, academic in nature. Okay, but if you admit that you're not well founded in social topics, academic topics to be specific, then the OET is the best option because OET tests your medical English. So imagine how we were using English when we were still studying in the College of Nursing. It's quite familiar with us, therapeutic communication, and so on. OET is actually the best option. Now, if you're going to weigh the prices, um, actually OET is more pricey than the IELTS and the PTE, but sometimes they offer promos. So actually, for the past few months, they really have this huge promo discount. So that's why it's very good timing for those who have taken the OET for the past few months. That's for the OET. For the PTE, it's best for people who are quite comfortable with the computer. Okay, because you're not going to face another human being. Even in speaking, what you're going to deal with there is artificial intelligence. It's a software. So if you're not fond of, really talking with another person, I think PT is the best option for you. Now, regarding the IELTS, they still have the two versions, the traditional way, which is the paper delivered test, and they also have the computer delivered test. But the main difference between the PTE, which is computer delivered test as well, in the IELTS and in their speaking test, you're still going to talk with another person through Zoom. Okay? But in the PTE, no, you're not going to deal with another person. So you can see that there are pros and cons for each kind of test. But when you talk about preparation, all of these tests have this universal preparation. And that's my main goal for sharing it tonight. So I'm about to share it. Hang on a bit. Let's see. So I'm just going to ask Sir Chris if you can view the PowerPoint that I'm showing right now.
Yes, ma'am. All clear.
Oh, that's great. Okay. All right. Okay. So my goal is to help the watcher, the audience, for tonight on how to prepare for the English test. And I will really do my best to find the common denominator among all the different English tests. So actually, itong IELTS, PT, OET, TOEFL, they follow the same standard in assessing your level of English proficiency. Iba lang yung kanilang format. As I mentioned, like OET, it's more on medical English. And then IELTS, they have this paper delivered. They also have this compare delivered. In PTE, you're not going to deal with another person. But when it comes to assessing the English usage, they follow the same criteria. Okay? And then, of course, the best way to reach out to me later on. So as you can see, this is the usual timeline for nurses. Why do we start off first with the NCLEX? It's because it doesn't have any expiration date. And the application, the time to take or to apply for the test takes some time, right? So that's why you have to start early with the NCLEX. Now, once you already have your NCLEX, then you really have to consider the English test because it's really part of the requirement when you're going for CGFNS verification and so on. But a lot of times, nurses would only think of the English test as like sometimes a lot of us, especially those who are comfortable in using English, we somehow overrate ourselves, overestimate ourselves. That just because we can converse in English, like we're not going to invest so much preparation with the IELTS. On the other hand, for those who are not confident yet in their English communication, they try to delay it, they try to avoid it. So both ways are actually unhealthy ways on how to deal with the English test. So it's very important that even if you don't have yet your target date, at least as early as now, you already start to immerse yourself in the borrowed language so that you wouldn't really start from scratch. And that is why I place here in the middle part language skills building. You see, communication skill is a soft skill. When you say skill, you only get to learn it by doing it. You cannot memorize it. You cannot, just wing it all the time. You really have to use that language. But we know for sure that, especially if you're working in a public hospital, we can't really exercise English communication all the way, right? That's why we have to have alternative ways in placing ourselves where we can best immerse in the English language. Okay? Now, later on, I'll be showing you how else can you help prepare yourself while you're still preparing for the review. It's like pre-review phase in English preparation. So on the rightmost side, you could see there the review itself. You see, it's not magic. If you have some friends who only took like 2 weeks for them to take the test and then they really reach their desired band score right away, it's not magic because you always have to go back to the current proficiency levels that you have. If the person already has a high or intermediate proficiency level, it will only take them what, 2 to 4 weeks to prepare for the exam. And how do they prepare? To familiarize themselves with the test format. But if you yourself know that you still have a lot of things to prepare for, and you don't even know where to start and so on, you have a lot of um, self doubts and so on, because these are negative thoughts, right? That delay your progress. So you don't expect that you could really finish it as fast as 2 weeks or 4 weeks. So I also agree with the second speaker that when it comes to your timeline, it also is based on how dedicated you are and how how far that you prioritize your preparation. So the English test is one of your requirements, and it's not something that you can really avoid. Okay? But if you ask me, based on my experience, the average would be 2 to 4 weeks for intermediate users of English already. But if they are lower intermediate users of English, it would take for around for 8 to 12 weeks. So that would be around 3 months. Assuming that the person is dedicated in studying and preparing. Okay? So by the way, for those who are watching, whether live or in the recorded version, feel free to take some screenshots. Okay? So language skills building, these are just simple steps, but they're very crucial. So it all starts with thinking in English. A lot of times, as non-native speakers, we tend to think first in our native language. For example, my first language is Visayan. So that's really like my automatic language in my head. And then when we try to translate it in English, there's like a gap there, right? So how do we shorten that gap? By already starting to think in English. So even as simple as, I'm so hungry. So instead of saying like, gutom ako, you try to think I'm hungry. It starts from there. Okay? And then you also expose yourself to advanced English. It's not enough to only settle for rom-coms, series, TV series in English, because that's not the kind of English that you're gonna encounter in the test. It's formal English, it's academic English. So I highly encourage you to level up the material that you are exposing yourself into. Later on, I'll show you some of my favorites because they are for free and you can freely access them through the internet. And then, of course, immerse yourself in high quality lectures and literature with rich language. This is what most of the Filipinos lack. It's our opportunity and our capacity to also, and willingness rather, to immerse ourselves in high quality lectures because we find them boring, right? Most of the time. But if you really are very serious in developing your English capacity, then these are the trade-offs. But they really are going to help you a lot. So one of the very accessible and very popular rich resource of academic English would be TED. So I also included here the website. If you're going to zoom it in, it's TED.com. And it's available in many formats. They also have their own podcast. So you just type in Spotify, for example, TED. And they have a lot of variants. You've got TED Daily Talks. And they also have a YouTube channel. My challenge is if you're going to watch it, either in their website or in the YouTube channel, turn off the subtitle so that you get to practice listening to the accent and how it is expressed. Because most of the time, when there's a subtitle on, we don't listen that much because we're focused on reading the subtitles, right? So it actually defeats the purpose. And if you want to improve on your listening skills, the best format would be the podcast. If you think that it's too fast, you try to slow down the speed a bit. So from 1x to 0.8x at the beginning. But your goal is to, of course, progress to the normal pace. Because obviously, we cannot request the PT, OET, TOEFL to slow it down for us. We cannot do that. And it's not about only listening to it. It's also comprehending what we have listened to. There's no shortcut for it. That's why it's a very helpful exercise if you do it every day. If you're going to ask me, "Oh, really? Are you listening to podcasts every day?" Oh, yes. And I'm not kidding because it helps me absorb the material. And if you have, for example, there's a topic that you were very serious in listening to it and then you understood it, in succeeding podcasts that are related to the topic, it's much faster for you to absorb it because you have already had a groundwork on the topic. That's why I really encourage you guys to start already making this kind of everyday habit so that you wouldn't be there's a term for that. You wouldn't be working on the last minute because it never helps, sadly. And what about this one? There are many news articles that I really like, but most of them have paywalls. Unfortunately, they do have free reading, but they're only until 3 free readings every month. But the Guardian International, they are for free. That's why it's this that I'm posting it for you. So you could also see the website there when you zoom it in. When you read these kinds of articles, you get to be exposed um to the to how they are writing it. You know, we know that we read captions in Facebook, in TikToks, and so on, but they're not really challenging our minds, right? But when you try to read well-written articles, it forces you to be exposed to new words. And for example, like you are exposed to a new vocabulary, then this is the best time to look it up in the dictionary. Every day you try to learn 3 to 5 new words. It would really help you in articulating whatever thoughts that you have in your mind. Okay, so one aspect of the tutorial sessions that I usually have with my students is, for example, in our speaking practice, our topic would be randomly, I'm thinking about governance. Okay, for example, that's the topic. So we are going to read something about governance from these different kinds of news articles. We're going to pick out some helpful ideas, some wonderful vocabulary, and so on. And then once we understood about the topic, we try to practice them through speaking, through questioning. Okay. And then when we try to express it, we can borrow some words that we have taken from either the lecture or from the things that we've read. So that's how you improve on your vocabulary. You can never memorize it. What you can do is understanding when and how to use it. Okay, I hope I'm really making sense. So, Sir Chris, just chat with me if I'm going haywire here. And what about this British Medical Journal? If you're taking the IELTS, TOEFL, and PTE, you're not going to deal with medical journals. However, in the OET, Occupational English Test, which tests your proficiency in medical English, this is the kind of articles you're going to deal with. So this is just one of the many free websites that, of course, offer medical journals. But you can really see there that that is the kind of English that you're going to deal with in your reading test. So as early as now, if you're not going to push yourself in exposing yourself in this kind of English, it wouldn't if you're going to take it right there and then, it would really block your mind because you're not used to it. Okay? That's why familiarization is very important because it helps you in the speed of your comprehension. I know at first, like, it's very boring to read these kinds of things. So one trick there to help yourself be motivated is to start with topics that you're interested in. So for example, you're a practicing clinical nurse right now, and then you are assigned in the, let's say, in the pediatric ward. You have a patient there who's suffering from Kawasaki disease. So you choose a medical journal that is related to Kawasaki disease. What are the nursing interventions um, for taking care of a patient with Kawasaki disease? So at least whatever you're going to read it, you know that it will be beneficial for your actual work and you will find relevance to it. So the two tricks there in motivating yourself is to either be curious about it or to find meaning or relevance to what you're reading. Other than that, it's like we feel that it's a waste of time doing it. We don't see its purpose. So remember these two things. It's something that piques your interest or curiosity. And the second one is it's something that is relevant to what you do. Okay? I hope I'm making sense. So this one is best for those who are taking the IELTS. This is also for free. So whatever I'm showing to you guys, these are free learning materials. So you again just zoom it in when you take a screenshot of it and you'll see the website. So this is for um the IELTS writing. Because in the IELTS writing, you are it has two modules, the academic and the general training. For nurses, you are going to use the harder version, which is the IELTS academic. And in the first part, you're going to describe a graph. And in the second part, you're going to write an essay. Okay, this is an example of academic task 1, where you are describing a graph. And guess what? In the PTE, they only have the essay writing plus a summarization of a text. They are also asking you to describe a graph, but not in writing. It's actually in speaking. So this is what I meant with these different tests. They have different formats, but when it comes to the preparation, it's universal. Okay? So regardless if you're, taking the IELTS, the PT or OET, if you just keep on building up the foundation, it will really benefit you regardless on the kind of exam that you're going to choose. So this one is with the use of AI. This is for people who want to practice their English speaking. So this is for the speaking, okay? So take a screenshot on this one, check out the website so that you just know where to visit. It's with the usage of artificial intelligence, by the way, AI. Okay. This one is another free learning platform, readingsoft.com. This one helps you improve on your reading speed because there are two things that you need to take note of when it comes to reading. It's the speed and accuracy. All right. You cannot be always on time, but you don't fully comprehend the material. On the other hand, you don't have the luxury of time to fully comprehend the material. So it really has to be a balance of both. Like with the limited time that you're given during the exam, you get to maximize the amount of you get to maximize the comprehension level that you were able to exercise in that part. So this one, I'm gonna ask Sir Chris later on, for those who would be availing their service, and for those who would, you are eligible for a 15-minute speaking assessment. And if ever you've decided to avail of their services before January 15, and you get to choose to study with me, you're also eligible for a 10% discount. That's my gift, my Christmas gift, and New Year gift to you guys. How can we help you? Here we go. So we have two packages. We've got the premium set and we also have the economical set. So the premium set, it's like a jam pack already of 10 sessions on one-on-one coaching, plus recorded lessons, test registration assistance, and other resource materials. So a lot of us would really be helped if we can do it on installments. So this is the schedule of the installment scheme. On the other hand, we also have the economical set. So this is by packages. The first package is only an access to the recorded classes, and the other one is only for one-to-one coaching. But we also have the third package, which is a bundle promo. If you add them up, instead of 4,000, you only get to pay 3,500. So that's a discounted price. And you can take a snapshot on this one so that you'll have more information in making your decisions later on. If you want to know more about me, please check out our FB page. You can check our genuine reviews. These are from my students. And then I really hope that you guys will be able to reach your required band scores in God's time. And the best way to also, have our session is that we also have like an appointment setter. And a lot of my students are actually from abroad. So I like to ask or to use this tool because it is already automatic in time conversion. And what you're going to do is you pick a date. And what I usually encourage for the candidates is to choose your days off because sometimes or most of the time, if you're going to study after your shift, you're not in your best condition to really absorb the material. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a study plan where we get to maximize your learning capacity and we're going to do it on your days off so that you have a good rest. But on the other days, I will give you some assignments as well. So these are just some of the platforms that I use. My Google is already my best friend. And this is like the review phase. Now, remember again, at the beginning, I mentioned about how long will it usually take you to prepare. So it really depends on your current proficiency level and your level of dedication. But the flow is somehow the same. So the first phase is the familiarization of the exam. And then once you already are familiarized with the test formats, you focus this time to the mastery. So you focus on the quality. And once you have improved in that phase, then that's the time that we focus on the speed and accuracy. And that is actually our the best time when you're going to take the test because you're at your peak. If you keep on, you know, delaying it much longer because of many alibis or excuses, and you wouldn't be that alert anymore. So we really have to find that sweet spot of yours. So what will you benefit from us? We help you prepare for the test, assess and evaluate throughout the coaching program. I'm only going to use official materials. I'm also going to share you some practice and mock tests, living guide to the US of A, test registration assistance, and post-test guidance as well if you want one. So feel free to directly communicate with me. When you do, please please tell that you're from Nasya or you got or um you attended the orientation in Nasya. Okay, so that I get to track down where we have met. So this is the best way to contact with me. Leave a message, like our page, and there you go. So I really hope that I was able to give some valuable content that that will help you in making your future decisions in which test to take and how to best prepare for it. There you go. Back to you, Sir Chris.